Hi, this is Staff Sergeant Adam Ross, Public Affairs NCOIC for 19th ESC. And on today's episode of the Every Soldier Counts podcast, we have a great conversation with the command team from Sixth Ordnance Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Brad May and Command Sergeant Major Pearl Reeder-Hensley. And we talk about the unique mission of Sixth Ordnance Battalion and what it takes to be an ammunition soldier. So stay with us right here on the Every Soldier Counts podcast.
Welcome to the 19th ESC Every Soldier Counts podcast.
Wherever you find American troops today, you'll find the men of the Transportation Corps. Enough and on time. That's the story we tell you today. The story of the Army Quartermaster Corps.
These youthful servicemen are members of the Army's Military Police Corps.
One of the most important forces behind the lines, the Army Ordnance Corps.
Welcome once again to the 19th ESC Every Soldier Counts podcast, recording here on Camp Henry, South Korea. I am Staff Sergeant Adam Ross, the Public Affairs NCOIC for 19th Expeditionary Sustainment Command, and our guest today is the command team for 6th Ordnance Battalion, and that is Command Sergeant Major Pearl Reeder-Hensley and Lieutenant Colonel Brad May. Both of you, thank you for joining us in studio here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's a great pleasure.
So if you've listened to the podcast before, you know we start with kind of a getting to know you question. So, sir, I'll start with you. What can you tell us about your military background and how you came to join the Army?
So I'll just start out with I am from Arvada, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. They're in the Rocky Mountains. I joined the Army at a young age of 19. Went in as a signal specialist, multi-systems channel operator, 31 mic, what they used to call it, nowadays referred to as a 25 uniform. Spent some time in the enlisted force, about 8 years. During that time, got my college degree at Colorado State University, and then went through commissioning and OCS at Fort Benning, Georgia. And luckily for me, coming out of Fort Benning, Georgia, I was no longer a signal in the Signal Corps. The Army thought I should have a career in transportation, and they branched me transportation.
All right, great. And so you're a Rams fan, Colorado State Rams, sir, right?
Of course I am, yeah. During the time I was there, the Freedom Bowl was actually a thing. We were actually winning then, unlike now.
True. And Sergeant Major, same question to you.
So I entered the military initially in 1997 as a medical. Had a break in service after 6.5 years of service. Decided to come back in after a 3-year break and became an ordnance soldier as an 89 Bravo and been there since. Had some college, have a family, some children, so just, loving the Army life right now.
Okay, and so a 3-year break in service, Sergeant Major. So, what was there something that told you like I got to go back? Like, did you miss something that made you miss it?
So I was in a big corporation, pretty much a car assembly corporation, GMC. If you are familiar with the Atlanta area, they were closing down their shop, and going from military life and working with your peers and your subordinates and your leaders, you pretty much became a family. When they were breaking down and saying, hey, we're shutting the shop down, moving it to Milwaukee, I was like, no, thank you. If I'm going to move to a place like that, I'm going to be back in the military. So that's when I just said, you know what, I miss it. I miss the home feeling, the family feeling, so I just decided to come back in.
All right, that music means it is time for our 50-meter target questions. What we used to call it the speed round or the lightning round, but we're emphasizing quality over speed now with the answers. So these are kind of fast and quick questions, kind of offbeat, more biographical ones. So, sir, we'll start with you. Is there a cadence in the Army that you know word for word you'd never forget?
Wow. In the early morning rain, I think, is one that comes to mind. I don't know if I could even say the whole thing right now, but I do remember that.
Okay. I don't know if I know that one. I'll have to look that up. Sergeant Major, how about you?
So mine is the go-to to start off my cadence is always Captain Jack. Hey, Captain Jack. That was always my go-to start, get me in the rhythm. So it's always going to be one of my go-tos, and I know word for word. And I could remix it all the time. That's
my personal favorite as well. So staying with you, Sergeant Major, is there a job in the Army that you wish you could have tried, or maybe if you had another, when you came back that second time, maybe you should have given it a shot?
So the second time, giving a shot at a job, I think if there was one, I wish infantry was open to females when I came back in, because that's definitely one I would have went into. And I'm too old now, so I'm not going to put my Ranger packet in, but that would have been a career choice I would have made at that young age, yes.
Wow, interesting. Okay, sir, same question to you.
So I had a little taste of the Signal Corps as an enlisted soldier. I would tell you the one thing that I'm a little bit not disappointed, but wish I would have tried, is to be a signal officer and to actually be, an S6. I'm sure my S6 is listening right now, thinking that's probably something that he didn't want me to say, but I've always wanted to dive in that realm.
All right, next question. Staying with you, sir. So you made the trek from Carroll to Henry. Sometimes that's not the most pleasant drive with traffic. What is the worst traffic you've experienced in your career, where you've been?
The worst traffic I've ever been in is on the 405. If you're familiar with Southern California, that when it takes you almost 45 minutes to go 6 miles, it's pretty painful.
Sergeant Major, how about you?
So the worst traffic I've ever been in was my first day on the job here in Korea, Sixth Ordnance. So I left on Friday evening about 17:30 from the office, trying to get back to Camp Walker. It took me over 2 hours. First of all, I got lost, made the wrong exit, had to turn back around, try to figure things out. So I think this was my worst experience. 2 hours to go 45 minutes is rough.
All right, staying with you, Sergeant Major. We've had a fairly mild winter this year. I think we haven't had that bad for Korea standards. But what's the coldest duty station or duty assignment you've been at?
Hands down, Fort Carson, Colorado. Doing a exercise in December, first week of December, I literally thought my fingers were going to freeze off. So I would say Colorado.
Sir, how about you? Do you have a bad winter in your career?
I have a good story about a bad winter here in Korea, actually. 1993, PFC Brad May on top of a hill right outside of Seoul, running a retrans station, in where I thought it was a good idea to stoke the fire of our potbelly stove in our tent. I will tell you, not a good idea. Your tent will burn down, and then you will be forced to be cold. And I will tell you, in January, up north of Seoul, is really, really cold. And that's by far my worst experience.
Or an early leadership test for you.
Very early leadership challenge, for sure.
Okay, staying with you, sir. We're still relatively in the new year. Do you have a personal goal for 2021?
So, my personal goal is to treat everybody with a little bit more compassion, because I'm learning that everybody has a story. Everybody has a demon, and everybody carries those weights differently. And I think we need to remember that as we interact with people in our daily lives.
Okay, excellent. Sergeant Major, how about you?
So a personal goal I have is to do another marathon. I've been slacking for a couple years, but before the summer's over, my goal is to run a marathon here on my own pace, by myself, hit a marathon.
And hopefully we'll be at the right HP Con where that's allowed to happen.
Yes, let's hope for that.
Well, good luck to both of you on those goals. We're going to take a break now. We'll come back, kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what Sixth Ordnance Battalion does right here on the Every Soldier Counts podcast.
Hey, this is Master Sergeant Savage with the 19th ESC Retention Team. I am the Senior Retention Operations NCO, and one of the main questions I always get asked is, when can I re-enlist? And that's a great question. With the current policy that we're having, the re-enlistment window, the eligibility to re-enlist, is from 15 months from your ETS date. And that's a little tricky overseas because we have DERO states, but if you're 15 months from your ETS date, you're eligible to re-enlist. The only other way is if you are on orders to a location where you do not have enough time to PCS. If you have more questions about reenlistment, or if you have questions about your career, duty stations, change in MOSs, hit us up at DSN 315-763-4013, or you can find us on our Facebook page. That's 19th ESC Retention Team.
And we're back here on the Every Soldier Counts podcast with the command team of 6th Ordnance Battalion, Colonel May and Sergeant Major Reeder-Hensley. So when we had Colonel No in here earlier, he mentioned 6th Ord, how it bears a unique distinction in the Army. You just don't see an ordnance battalion much these days, or at all, really, right, sir?
So Colonel No is very correct. You do see ordnance battalions in the Army, and they're typically focused on maintenance. What you don't see in the Army is an ammunition battalion, which 6th Ordnance is the only operational ammunition battalion in the entire Army. Our mission is very unique here in Korea, to the Korean Peninsula, where our mission is to maintain, issue, and store all of U.S. munitions here on the peninsula. And we do that with a combination of 3 ordnance companies and 1 HHD, spread all the way from the northern tip of Korea all the way down to the southern tip here in Area 4.
And so had either of you worked in ammunition that much before you came to 6th Ord?
I'm going to turn that over to the expert over here on my left, my battle buddy, Sergeant Major.
So the unique thing is I am an 89 Bravo, so I am ammunition by trade. So working ammunition, I ran an ammunition company in Colorado, and we were fortunate at the time to have all of our soldiers actually doing ASP operation, which is our MOS, working through there. All green suiters, 1 civilian, and then some Quasas doing our surveillance. So yes, a lot of ammunition experience throughout my career. The great thing about 6th Ordnance Battalion is it's an ammunition battalion that allows the soldiers to actually do their MOS. This is something unique that is here in Korea, although in the States and even in Germany, they get to rotate through the ASPs, but they don't really get to do all the tangibles of their MOS. So the stock control, the ammunition specialist actually working in the, the yard, basically is how we call it. So that's the one unique thing. And then we also have all levels. So we have the warrant officers, we have the officers, and then we have the enlisted. So it's a great, unique ordnance battalion.
Yeah, and something that makes us even more unique is our Department of the Army Civilians, which Sergeant Major mentioned, Quasas, which is our surveillance control for ammunition, as well as our Korean national employees, which I think we'll get a little bit later, but they are absolutely essential to our daily mission here on the peninsula, and we couldn't do this without them. I will tell you that on top of all the things that Sergeant Major talked about, we also dive in the retrograde, which is a big piece of the mission here, is the retrograde, as well as the demilitarization of munitions here on the peninsula. And in layman's terms, that means we can blow it up right here with supervision, and it's kind of fun, and our soldiers actually have a pretty good time doing that.
And both of you mentioned Quasas. Is that a acronym? Could you expand on that a little bit?
So it is an acronym. It basically stands for Quality Assurance and Surveillance for Ammunition. It's that one person that gives you eyes on the ground to make sure we're following the rules, the regulations of everything that deals with Class 5 or ammunition.
And Sergeant Major, going back to what you said about the MOS skills, like ammunition is obviously a critical component of so many things that happen in the Army, and it is also, explosive. So what are some of the skills that go into, the training to be an ammunition specialist? So
some basic skills are identifying what the munition is, understanding how to separate it, segregate it by its classification, also how to store it, how to document it. And then you also have our alphas, which is our stock control. They're the ones that go into the system, making sure that all our numbers, lot numbers, quantities, and everything are tracking based on what the Army's saying we have in that system or in that ASP. So anywhere from array of, working with MHE, which is your forklifts, your wretches. So this is all part of that skill set. They get to learn that in AIT. They bring it to us, and then we continue to hone on that specific qualifications and licensing for them. So anything that deals with ammunition, from storing, issuing, receiving, actually surveillancing, because our SLC graduates, they're allowed to do surveillance just like QASAs, so they could do that. So anything from the beginning of receiving it all the way to issuing it and to getting it back, checking condition codes, making sure it's safe.
And something we've recently implemented, between the Sergeant Major and I, amongst our whole battalion, is to leverage the knowledge of our Korean national population in our workforce. So we've implemented a training program through our SPO to where we partner up our soldiers and monitor their training with those Korean nationals, and actually are annotating that in the DTMS system to where we can enhance the knowledge of those 89 alphas and bravos and quantitate that as they will eventually move on to their next job and will have the skills needed, for the next position.
And what can you tell me about your relationship with the ROK Army in Korea, sir?
So, when I quickly learned upon, change of command, I got here and had some KLEs, as we talk about, key leader engagements. Within my first day of command, I had an engagement with our counterparts up at 83, which is up near Camp Humphreys. So my relationship with the ROK or Ammo Depot commanders is critical to both coordination for my soldiers that actually work on that installation as the only U.S. Contingent on a ROK base. So having those relationships, those understandings of, partnership is very important. And I make an effort, Sergeant Major and I both make an effort to get out there, visit, and collaborate with our ROK counterparts.
And one of the other things that we do with the ROK Army is we actually work closely with them, especially during our retrograde. Soldiers are working with soldiers of the ROK Army. So we have to build that relationship. And so they come together, they do their mission, and they continue to be friends because we have to have that relationship with them, and they understand the Army, U.S. Army, and then we understand ROK Army because it is different in how they work and versus how we work. We're on their installation, so we have to follow their, house rules and then teach them some of the stuff that we know. So it's really a unique opportunity for our soldiers to get there and work with a different country's army. So this is not something that's a normal thing. So this is.
And how do you think that affects like job satisfaction or maybe soldier development too, being in that unique position, Sergeant Major?
So I think it affects it tremendously. So one, you have the appreciation to know that how great we have it in the U.S. Army because they get to see the daily interactions with those ROK Army soldiers and their leaders. So they learn like, wow, U.S. Army is amazing. And then the other thing is understanding different countries and how they work and what their culture is. It's tremendously a great opportunity for our soldiers to get to see that and then take it back with them and build on that culture, learning them, respecting them, understanding them. So, and then they take it back to their states and teach the rest. So I think this is an amazing opportunity for them.
I'll piggyback on that just a little bit. I'll tell you, I was talking with some soldiers the other day about the uniqueness of the battalion being the only ammunition battalion in the Army. And I would tell you, amongst our 89 population, which is almost all of it, they are extremely proud to be assigned to the Sixth Ordnance Battalion as the Army's only ammunition. Because when they leave here, they have a little bit of bragging rights about, hey, I was in Korea in the only ammunition battalion, and guess what? I know stuff, So.
And sir, you mentioned retrograde as part of your mission. How would you explain that to like a civilian family member?
So retrograde is basically taking things that have expired and taking them to somewhere where they can either be disposed of or they can be retrofitted into something that you can use again. And we do that by taking stuff, from all of our different ammo depots from north and south, and basically putting them on a vessel down in Busan, partnering up with our SDDC teammates down there in 837th, and take them to places where they can, be retrofitted or disposed of, either in CONUS or other places around the world.
And so we talked about your mission and kind of your organization. Let's talk about the soldiers within that organization. So one of the campaigns right now in the Army is people first. So what do you think of that phrase and how that fits into your leadership philosophy?
So I'll tell you right off the bat, and Sergeant Major can talk about this in conjunction with me as well. But people first. So I have a saying in my command philosophy that takes some explaining sometimes, but positive command climate equals mission accomplishment. So taking care of your people doesn't mean just being their best friend, right? Taking care of your people means that your people are resourced, your people are trained, that your people are cared for in all aspects of soldier. And I think that's what the Army is getting after with people first, is making sure we take care of our holistic people.
And I totally agree. So people first, in my opinion, is, it's not just a number like a lot of people say. I know people hear, we're just another number. No, you are part of our Army. You are people. We are going to put you first. We're going to make sure you're ready to fight tonight. We're going to make sure that you are on top of it. So getting after training, getting after their readiness, getting after their qualifications, anything that they need to ensure that they're ready for the mission. And not only them, their families, because that's part of our organization, is the family members of our soldiers. So it's people total first.
And I'll tell you, people first really kind of dives in even deeper to what the Army is talking about nowadays with strength and diversity, right? So people first, people matter, and everybody gets a vote, right? Something that we're pushing in our battalion is along those lines is Know Your Rights campaign. And in order to have a voice, in order to be heard, you have to know your rights, whether that dives into equal opportunity, whether it dives into sexual harassment prevention. You have to know your rights in order to be heard. So that's something that we're pushing in our battalion, to where every soldier actually can have a voice and know that they matter.
And staying on the diversity topic, Sergeant Major, you mentioned earlier that you wish you could have joined infantry, enlisted in infantry when you came in. Can you provide maybe your perspective on how far the Army has come in that respect, in your career?
Oh yeah, so definitely. So never would I have imagined when I came in the Army that I would see a female amongst the Rangers, amongst the Special Forces, in those combat units. It was just not seen and not heard of. It was more like, you go over there, you do this job. I remember going to JRTC as a young sergeant and being told that I could not go into the box yet, because this commander did not want the female to distract his soldiers. Like, what do you mean? I'm just the medic. I'm trying to help. I want to make sure they're good and they're fit. And then I see it now, it's like, wow, we have changed our whole culture, allowing females to be amongst them ranks. Yes, I wish I was in it, because, that's the front line. Who does not want to be on the front line? Who does not want to challenge themselves? Who does not want to put their life on the line for our country that we love? So we have completely changed our outlook on how females can fit in. And we got some pretty strong females out there that are getting after it. Makes me proud every day. Wish I was back 20s, Not going to happen now, but wishing I was back in the 20s. So I'm very happy and proud of the Army and their change.
So I'll tell you right now, she's not going to brag on herself, but I will. So Sergeant Major Reeder-Hensley is the first CSL selected Command Sergeant Major of the 6th Ordnance Battalion, which is pretty proud. I was looking on the wall the other day of the legacy Sergeant Majors, and having her in the battalion as the first female. On top of that, the first Latin American female as a command selected. Command Sergeant Major is pretty impressive. So I'm real proud that she's here with me by my side.
I appreciate that, sir.
And we also wanted to talk about just the Korea experience here, being assigned here in Area 4. So what's something you would tell someone maybe is they wouldn't know about being stationed in Korea? You know, what's something you've enjoyed here during your time?
Well, I would say it's not HP Con Charlie. That was something that I had to deal with coming here right off the bat, was coming in late May, early June during what is COVID? What is HP Con Charlie? Well, a lot of challenges there. So, but what I can tell you from being in Korea, just on my initial take, is the people in Korea, the Korean people, are very accommodating, and they're very the willingness to make sure that you're taken care of is noted upon arrival, and that was something I took away.
So with me, it's my second time here in a few years. So I was here back in 2017 to 2018. As soon as I was here the first time, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I did not expect it. From coming here back in 2003 to now, it was a big gap. I was like, wow, this is really different compared to what I thought it was going to be. I was able to go shopping. I was able to live my life like normal. So this is probably one of the preferred duty stations, in my opinion. And then coming back, HP Con Charlie, not the greatest thing that you would like to come into, but it's a pandemic and it's all over the world. So I would say that when you do get here, you have to enjoy the culture. You have to get and immerse yourself into it. Go out there, experience, do those Hana tours. Hana tours. Right. Get into that. Do it. Get yourself out your comfort zone. Get off the base. Go enjoy it. They're very pleasing, and they want to come and they want to teach you, but you got to go and look for it. You can't just sit in your room. Enjoy the country. It's beautiful. Very true. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I was here also in 2017. Yeah, and I was just here by myself though. So now I've got my family back here with me, and so that's made it all the more better. Having them with me. Yes,
I'll tell you something I'm pretty proud of about our battalion. So our battalion is headquartered at Camp Carroll, right, which is in Wagwon, which is not near Camp Henry or Daegu, right? So something unique to my battalion is I have a very special, unique relationship with the governor of Wagwon and the surrounding community, and where my battalion, my subordinate companies have very unique partnerships to where we help our community with picking up trash in the neighborhood, helping out at the soup kitchen, helping out at the homeless shelter. I have a friendship agreement with the local middle school, to where we do reading exchanges and Korean English enhancements, and then it's just a really good relationship, and it builds all of us.
And sir, my introduction to your unit was on the staff ride up to Hill 303. Another example of your partnership there.
So yeah, something really that we're proud of is our relationship with the Korean War Veterans Association here in South Korea, and our partnership with the city of Wagwon and Hill 303, which is a whole other history lesson in itself. But I was real fortunate, that the Team 19 asked Bullet Nation to lead up a staff ride that laid out the historical battlefield and some lessons learned that the United States and Korea had during the Korean War, and the significance of Hill 303, which, if you get a chance to do it and you're here in Wagwon, go hike up to the top of Hill 303. Not only do you sweat, but you can get up there and see a very unique memorial that the Sixth Ordnance Battalion has placed up on top of the hill.
And I believe the observance tower is open up there as well now.
Yep, it is officially open as of about 3 weeks ago. They've got it fully lit up at night to where the top is a burning flame, and it's really pretty neat.
Something we wanted to close with is another thing that's at the forefront kind of the Army right now is in the wake of the Fort Hood report, and just the way forward of creating a positive culture and combating sexual harassment, sexual assault. So anything you want to offer on that, how you're addressing that within your ranks?
So I would begin with we have really opened it up to mutual trust. I think mutual trust will kind of gear our way of how we're approaching it. So we have to be able to have mutual trust amongst all leaders, all soldiers within all ranks, even our civilian population. So once we have that mutual trust between us, they know that we're here to protect them, to make sure that the things that are happening within the battalion, even within Camp Carroll, period, is right. And we're trying to make sure that they understand where to get the help, who to call, who to contact. It's posted everywhere. We do have a lot of leader engagements with the soldiers. We do have our talking sessions where we let them come talk to us and just speak freely. But I think honing in on that mutual trust, because if they don't trust me to come talk to me, we have a problem. So I think what my one thing is mutual trust.
Yeah, 100% right. And that kind of gets into our Know Your Rights campaign that we have within our battalion. Something that I've seen that's very successful on this front, to making sure that soldiers know that you're trusted as a leader and that they're trusted as a subordinate, and that everyone has a safe place to work in. Something that's been really effective is small group one-on-one conversations, kind of on a spur of the moment, just stopping a soldier in the hallway and say, how do you feel about this? Or how do you feel about this? And what's going on in your world right now? And having a one-on-one intimate conversation, about the soldiers' interaction in the unit. Really trying to empower them and their beliefs and make sure they're in line with the unit direction and the unit beliefs. So that's something that we're striving to do, and it's one of those things where we are trying to eradicate the discrimination within the battalion, and I think we've done a great job of it since we had the Fort Hood report come out. We were lucky enough to have Colonel No and his team come out and kind of go through the report with us at a leader standpoint and go line by line and say, hey, this is what happened. What can we do to make sure we don't fall into that bucket one day?
Great. And anything we didn't cover you guys we forgot about that you want to hit?
I don't know, Sergeant Major. I mean, other than commanding the coolest battalion in the Army, I don't know what else I could really say.
Yeah, I totally agree with him. This is probably the best opportunity. Very proud to be here. Very proud to be part of the organization. Absolutely grateful that I have an awesome battle buddy. We are going to take this to no limits. So I'm excited.
And if you want to keep up with all the happenings at Sixth Ord, follow Sixth Ordnance Battalion on Facebook.
We have
Facebook.
We have a great link. We have an active UPAR, thanks to your folks, and they're on it and they're updating daily.
Well, I want to thank you both again for joining us, Sergeant Major Reeder-Hensley, Lieutenant Colonel May. Thanks for joining us here on the Every Soldier Counts podcast. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, thanks.
Go Ordnance.
Thanks again for listening on the Every Soldier Counts podcast. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss one episode. We'll talk to you next time on the Every Soldier Counts podcast.